Okay, hello and welcome back to another video. So, this is just gonna be just some random commentary on a game I did. Frame rate is a little low at the moment, but it tends to do that at the start for some reason, despite on the top right it says that they're high. I don't know why, it just does that. But,
Welcome
actually
to
let me turn up
Summoner's Rift.
the audio. So, I was just having a usual day and I felt like playing,
30
BMO,
seconds until minions
Teemo the
spawn.
Bee, you know? Well, I was actually going to use the Space Group skin, but then I see we have a Bees crank, so I decided to match, and it's just one of those games where I'm in a silly mood and I just say the most random things in chat. Also then the Fury skin. It does look very similar to the original, but I like it. The Fury is underrated, methinks, but yeah. As far as my experiences with Season 14 go, I do like the new mage items. Assassin items are kind of boring now. Uh, I snowballed out of control with Belveth and won my first 7 games in a row. Of course, she got nerfed, and I one-shot people with Teemo landmines, and he gets nerfed. And admittedly, it has been slightly more difficult now because mid lane is much wider, so I almost never gank anymore. Top lane is wide, so it's harder to gank. Bottom lane is doable, but as a jungle main, the thing I hate most is when a lane is ungankable, just because of the team composition I am dealing with. Normally I make my landmines as lethal as possible, but I just felt like spitting darts at people to be funny. And the thing is though, is that the Volibear was Emerald, and I as someone who just plays only normals and event modes, it's kind of discouraging to see ranked players. Like, I shouldn't have to put up with that, but it is what it is, and just thankfully, he was never in the right place at the right time, but I was. So there's that. Yeah. And you see, all game I was just saying the most random things in chat to be funny, but I only started that because, like, the Blitzcrank was singing in Champ Select. So, I have this tendency to give everyone nicknames, like, Shaco is the stabby clown, or the Fury is the wolf dog, Ilaoi is the buff woman, and, for Teemo, I mean, I just call him the squirrel, despite people see him as a rat, but for Belveth, I call her the car manufacturer. Now, that is a very inside joke because I watch this channel called Pokerick, and it's this guy who dedicates himself to playing Lethality Yorick mid, and he likes to treat his minions like children, the maiden like a wife, and then he calls himself the father, the husband, or the farmer. And then someone joked that the Rift Herald is the family car. So then by that logic, I call Belveth the car manufacturer, and her Void Remora are the workers, so it's a very inside joke. You see, Blitzcrank is one of those characters who I just can't bring myself to like. He feels so unforgiving compared to other hook supports. It feels like if he just grabs you, you're dead. But at the same time, if he misses his hook, he just doesn't do much. Like, he feels like the feast or famine of support champions. But at the same time, I was very happy to have this Blitzcrank on my team because he most certainly landed his hooks. And of course, we were both bees, so that made it even better. He was the only one I could match skins with, sadly. If Malzahar had the bee skin, then we would have 3 bees. I didn't know he was using a chroma though, but at the same time I only have the blue chroma. Let me just occasionally press tab. Yeah, comparing Dart's Teemo to Mine's Teemo is definitely more mid to late game centered, but also compared to Season 13, and also 12 I guess, I started the build in Season 13. The power spike was Leandry Demonic Boots, but here it definitely feels like I need a bit more. I will say, the new Shadow Flame is way more fun than the old one. The old one is boring. But at the same time, it was the only other item that actually gave a bit of shield penetration. So characters like Gwen could win against Garen and Mordekaiser. And I slightly miss it, but I feel like the low health magic crits are just more fun. And there's the polar bear. And yeah, I say what's ranked in chat because I don't play ranked. So it doesn't really matter to me, but at the same time, it is still discouraging. And typically I have about 140 ping when I play. Trust me, it's not as horrendous as it sounds. Yeah. I will say the new text font is a little weird. I will eventually get used to it, but at the same time, I can't really say I like it that much. You know? Yeah, this game only happened yesterday, and I just kind of lucked out a bit, I will say. Also, I apologize if at random points my audio gets quiet or cuts out. My OBS never agrees with me. Again, it's why I said that I would try to do more videos where I don't have to talk, but despite that, I'm doing Undertale Yellow right now. Or not really doing, I'm editing footage of it. But, you know, it is what it is. And you see, I was gonna make my way to Dragon. I figured that as long as the bear wasn't there, I probably could do it, or I could at least stop him from doing it. Except, I did miss it. Honestly, I'm just gonna fast forward a little, you know. Yeah. You see, I keep forgetting just how crucial it is for me to actually build Nash's Tooth, because when I play Mines Teemo, I always forget to build it. But then I forget that even if I'm not doing Darts Teemo, I don't have to only rely on landmines. I can still spit at people. But yeah, the Blitzcrank saw that, and I just said it's better to leave it. But then Mausers came in. I like to call him the Stop Man because his entire kit stops things. His passive stops your stuns and damage. His Q stops your spells. W stops skill shots. His E stops your minion waves, and his ultimate stops you. Now granted, that's just a meme I saw on Google when googling Malzahar memes. So I call him the Stop Man. Yeah. Yeah, as of the time this game was being played, I had about 140,000 mastery on Teemo, and you know, the Volibear was about 150,000 mastery. Now granted, mastery doesn't truly matter in the grand scheme of things, just shows how much you play a champion. You see, when Hui was released, in which just started calling him Hawaii, but my friend Ray, the Gwen Ornn main, every time he saw Hui on his team, he felt like it was bad luck because he felt like he often lost with a Hui on his team. And typically that was the case for some strange reason. Like, just bad luck. I mean, again, 30% win rate at the time. But, then there's always that one game where the enemy Hui is just good. It's kind of like Yasuo Yone syndrome. The enemy team always has the good one while your team has the bad one. Now, I did know she would do that, but at the same time, I kind of underestimated how much damage it would do. I lost 2/3 of my health for that, but I knew I would kill her. Where was I? Oh yes, Hawaii. And now, when Smolder was released, it was the same exact deal. That ours was always bad, and there was bad luck, but theirs was just unbeatable. And then I played Smolder myself, and I felt unbeatable, especially in ARAM and Earth. Well, I played AP Smolder. I haven't done AD Smolder except in bots. Yeah, you see, I decided to just be funny in chat. Just defend my teammates at random. Now I kind of knew that the volley bear would be there, but yeah, I was a little concerned because Mauser's wasn't there, because this became a 3v2. Now, the Nefiri comment allowed my poison to finish him, and that was really good, but yeah, you see, this is basically a 3v2. Now, granted, not really, but still. And you see, then she starts pinging in chat that I have a bounty because she mad. Because Teemo's one of those characters who's just egregiously frustrating to play against despite how simplistic his kit is. Like, there's only so much a Teemo can do versus someone like Bel'Veth, despite that you'd think Teemo should counter Bel'Veth. Now here, I told Nefiri I would buy a control ward for her, and then I would place it in this bush right here, because typically no one checks there, and that is true. Now, usually the only time they find it is either when they're already standing in it, or when they use the Cyclone. I rarely ever see people actually walk in there. But typically it stays there for a really long time. It's when people start trying to contest for Baron that they find it. It's a good spot. Yeah. And you see, part of why I have the most silliest wording in chat, like with all the nicknames. Now, generally I do use proper grammar, but when I'm not, it's so I sound retarded, because there's a psychological aspect to it that if you sound stupid and you are beating them, then they themselves will have their ego hurt by the fact that you sound stupid and they are losing to you. You see, that was my one concern for Nefiri. I knew that her dogs would block a lot of souls, but at the same time I knew her all-in would just be meted with her ultimates. So, what is what it is. I remember at the start of the season when you could just stand in the middle and Alawi couldn't do anything to you. Now, I never actually experienced it myself, but ouch. And I told him I would show up to save him, but I couldn't make it in time. It was unfortunate. And then the grab shock showed up to help. Now granted, that name is given by Willump the robot, which I have that skin by the way. I do thank him for roaming though, a lot. You see, I like that little skin, like, his movement animations, despite how janky they are. I love the little bee piloting the mech, especially pink. It's a nice chroma. Yeah, again, though, like, when I try to sound stupid in chat, it's more or less to be funny, not to be toxic, despite, of course, the initial motive is to kind of make them mad because it's funny. But, you know, not to sound so horrendous. Like, it's not saying, oh, you suck. It's more like indirectly saying you suck, because supposedly they are losing to someone who is quote-unquote stupid. Now, don't get me wrong, I can absolutely be stupid at times. There's only so much you can do with Teemo, but you see here, she got very upset here. And she starts pinging aggressively because, you know, I exhausted her.
Unstoppable.
Now, I'm actually going to explain why I don't take flash on Teemo, whether it's jungle or not. Yeah, man, please, I already asked you to stop hurting Woof Woof. And you see, part of why I don't take flash is I personally believe that it's useless on Teemo to move forward 2 feet. I feel like if you get caught out, you're dead, unless you want to just go over a wall and then wait 5 minutes to do that again. But Ignite and Exhaust, those are good. I take Ignite with landmines and Exhaust with darts Teemo. And you see, she got very upset that I exhausted her. And because I'm playing an objectively annoying champion, she feels the need to be toxic in chat and to call me a rat. And, you know, I decide to have a funny response by saying wah wah sob sob and then saying no, I am a bee, buzz buzz and all that, and then Blitzcrank even agrees. I honestly think Teemo's more of a squirrel than a rat. And then likes to cut elsewhere. Like the Lux dies and then, you know, the game says this is more interesting. Well, no, she doesn't die. But still. Yeah, normals are interesting. Sometimes you have the most blessings of teammates. Sometimes you hard carry, and you know, sometimes you just have to give up on life because everyone lost lane except you. Now granted, of course you can roam and all, but not every player can be blamed for their teammates, even if they are doing everything they can. They say loser's queue doesn't exist. Game is always a coin flip, even if your choices do matter. You see, the main thing that annoys me as Teemo is I never get Infernal Soul, or at least if Infernal Dragon spawns, it's not for my team. So, it feels harder to play Landmine Teemo sometimes, because it feels like I need Infernal or Hex Tech with that. Stupid statue. I just came charging in. There's one thing about Volibear, and it's that every Volibear player loves to be him when he ults and says, I am the storm. And if he didn't have the coward's lens, as I call it, he would have died. Because when your entire team starts equipping Oracle Lens because of Teemo, that shows there's a problem, and that means they failed the test, because as a Teemo main, my job is to annoy people. And if they give me attention by either acknowledging me in chat, by, you know, being rude or saying something, or even just buying the lens, then they failed and they did what I wanted to, because, you know, naturally as any bully, by feeding them attention, they are encouraged to do it more. So you could call me a bully in that regard. Like, again, I like to see myself as a side character, not the main character. And then when I play Bel'Veth, I feel more like the main villain. Like, a lot of my motivations to do things are purely because I think it's funny. There's a reason I only play normals and event modes instead of ranked. I feel like rank holds no value. It's a mode designed for vanity, so that you can feel like you've accomplished something. And you see, once again, I was hoping I could save Malzahar here, because the bear was coming up, but sadly he didn't run away, he ran into the bush. And the point of this landmine wasn't to take the kill. The point of that landmine was so that if he got chased, they would be slowed down. Or if I found myself chasing into them, then they wouldn't exactly be able to run. I bumped my headphone. You see, I was gonna kill him regardless, purely out of vengeance, and you know, the bees crank, the grab shock showed up, and it was a blessing. Yep. Yeah, and you see, I learned in my playtime that Ghosty is often just better than Flash. Like, if you're playing Yorick and you flash E but you miss the E, well that's it. You can't do that for 5 more minutes, but if you use Ghost, you can do that every 3 minutes. Okay, she tried to predict her to throw out the Q. It worked and it didn't at the same time. But if you Ghost as Yorick and you miss the initial E, you can still do 2 more while also rapidly approaching the enemy. Like, there's just times where the game will tell you that Flash is the optimal spell when in reality it's not. The only character I ever take Flash on anymore is Malzahar. Because more often than not, I find myself actually liking to take a different spell. Like, you know, Ghost, Ignite, and Exhaust mainly. And I will always take Cleanse against specific characters like Lilia. What are you gonna do without your ultimate? Or same with Ashe. Or Morgana Root. Or Vagar Wall. You get the idea. Like again, nullifying a champion simply by taking a different spell than Flash is a blessing. Yeah. See, that poor Smolder is 0 and 4. It often does just feel like who wins the bottom lane is the difference, considering ADC is, well, attack damage carry. But you know, it is what it is. And then when Ray plays Ornn, he just says, you're just an ADC, and you will just tank them. Until they build Lord Dominic's Regards, which they're buffing next patch. I feel like it's hard to tank anymore. It feels like you either never die, or you're just not a tank. Because there's just too many tank shredding items these days. You see, I wanted to use Exhaust, but I didn't have it, he did. That was funny, she flashed after him, but he went away anyways. You know? Please stop hurting Buzz. Yeah, he had his own exhaust ready. And you see, she's very mad. She's mad. And instead of prolonging the conversation and being toxic like, haha, you're mad, you suck, skill issue, get better, I find that the best thing to do is to simply just say, why mad? Yeah. I like Neferi. Even if, well, no. I lost my train of thought. You see, I couldn't really gank mid that much because one, the lane is so wide, and two is that Orianna has the slow and the shield, and also she can ult. But at the same time, I didn't really want to force Malzahar to flash ult when he was just farming. Like, she had an item and boots while he had like 2.5 items, or 2 items and boots. And you see Blitzcrank is a blessing. I feel like he had the right idea here, but at the same time, I don't think he would have done enough damage. He just barely dodged that and got away. Speed. I do not like you, Mr. Polar Bear. And then it reminds me of the one time that, Ray was laning against a volley bear as Ornn, and he said, stupid polar bear, and then he responded, stinky ram. It's funny what kind of nicknames you can come up with. Like, again, like if I were to nickname everyone, there's the buff woman, the polar bear, the robotic ballerina, You see she flashes and doesn't even throw a Q out. Like, she has Q and doesn't use it, and she's just... She pings that she ghosted when all she did was use the ghost blade. The robotic ballerina, baby dragon, rainbow girl, I don't know. The hounds, the squirrel, the stop man, pirate gun lady, and the grab shock. You see, she's just taunting her by just standing there and looking at her because she's a slow and mobile juggernaut. Until she walks in with the one item. But then she gets stun locked and, you know, she then pings the exhaust, not because she wants them to know that he was used, but she's mad that it was used on her. And she thinks that it was I who used it, and reality is I would have, but I didn't. That was a smart flash. Yeah. You see, me saying my lawyer advised me not to mention the surrender button, it was literally just kind of psychologically inducing, you know, kind of this trigger in them that thinks, we need to get revenge. We need to kill that Teemo. And so they don't surrender. Now granted, they were failing to surrender to begin with, but like when someone says forfeit to the enemy team, it makes them want to not forfeit so they can get revenge. That's kind of the psychology behind it, because I was having fun this game, so you could call that as me being toxic, because I suppose it was, and they really, really chased the theory here. They just decided we do not like you. She got a lot of shields and heals though. She lasted way longer than I would have expected. Like, she was doing good at running. And you see, they decided to... yeah. Which wasn't here, no. Wasn't? Oh, they did actually start. But then we started coming and they decided no. They decided to sacrifice Dragon in favor of Baron. Now granted, Nefiri was distracting them still. And you see, I did advise Nefiri to get grievous wounds early on. I think she got it sometime at around the first tower being destroyed. I could be wrong. Yeah, I said it would help. Like, Malzahar wanted to take the Baron, but we simply couldn't. And then we all awkwardly backed off at the same time. And you see, right here, she gets upset that we all came after her, pinning it on me as me needing help to kill her. Now granted, yes, I do. She still has the gauntlets, and I'm squishy. But she plays it off like, you know, we're already in proximity. What more do you want from us? Like, you're right there and we're all right here. Even if I didn't ask them to go up, I think they would have. And so, she has to find the excuse to make herself sound better because she's annoyed at me. And then she pings me because she's so annoyed at me that she wants me to die of all things. We probably did overstay our welcome there, but, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, she got very upset. And again, as a Teemo main, I do things because it's funny. I'm not trying to make people miserable, but it is funny when they get annoyed. You know? Like again, my intention is to be indirectly toxic. Like, literally everyone on the team vouches against her. And like, yes, you're an ADC main, you can kite, but you know, you understand we're playing normals, right? Like, we don't have to play the game as optimally as possible. Like, when I play jungle, the only time I ever farm 2 camps at once is when I play Yorick. Then I toss a bunch of minions at one camp while the maiden and I take another. And that's about it. Like, in normals, just play the game casually, you know? Send team top, and then she decides she's just gonna teleport bottom, but it's like, you know, we saw you doing that, right? And so, it was just bad timing on her part, because at the same time, by not being there, she allowed my team to take out her defenses, with only Volibear defending. And she is so pressured by Malzahar's ultimate just being there, that she knows she can't do it, and she's forced to recall. Now granted, I'm not completely in the right here. I did unintentionally steal a couple of kills, like with the one landmine that was meant to protect Malzahar. Yet it, you know, it just ended up taking his kill instead. They came to lay down landmines as defense, and they decide, no, we're not putting up with that. Yeah, you see the lens show that they care, that they're annoyed at you specifically. I feel like I'm the only reason she actually built Force of Nature, not even the Malzahar or the Blitzcrank. It's because she's annoyed at me. The Volibear, on the other hand, I can understand. Yeah. Like, it is funny when someone gets annoyed. Yeah, and you see, despite having runes for spitting at people, my landmine still hurt purely because of Leandry and the amount of AP I had. You know? It is what it is. And again, they decide not to go after Dragon, and to instead take Baron. Now, I feel like Nefiri and Misfortune were the main ones who could even benefit from this Dragon in the first place. I guess I technically could, but yeah. We started showing up, and they just have to give up, practically. You see, he thinks he's safe there. And what's funny is that he flashed after the Orianna, not after the Smoke. I exhausted her despite I figured she might not really live long, and I was kind of stupid about dodging the tentacles there. I didn't care, really. We did back off Baron because there was only 2 of us, but we didn't need it at the same time. The game was basically already won, and what are they gonna do about it? You know? I spent a lot of the game more or less just farming, but we all had very similar CS margins at the end. She dies. Game over. It's fun. Alright then. Thank you, my friends, for watching this random, unedited commentary with probably a lot of buggy audio, but it is what it is. See you in the next video.